Syracuse basketball stuns Tennessee, and their NCAA tournament hopes are alive.
You are Locked On Syracuse, your daily podcast on the Syracuse Orange, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
How are we feeling, ladies and gentlemen? Syracuse basketball on Tuesday night, ACC SEC Challenge. Absolutely had to have this game against Tennessee coming to the Dome. And guess what, folks? They found a way. Syracuse basketball beats Tennessee 62-60. What an enormous victory for Syracuse. Hello, everyone. I'm Jackson Holzer. This is Locked On Syracuse, and thank you for making Locked On Syracuse your first listen of every single day here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. And of course, we are always free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And on tonight's post-game reaction, what do you think we are going to talk about? Of course, we are going to go over Syracuse basketball's big-time victory over Tennessee, how they won this game, and the road ahead, of course, for this team moving forward. All that and more coming up here on tonight's post-game podcast. And before we get to everything, this episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. I'm not going to lie to you, ladies and gentlemen. Not only does this feel good for everyone, it especially feels good that Syracuse beat this particular team. See, if it was against any other team that Syracuse upset, we'd obviously be very happy. Like, beggars can't be choosers here. Syracuse needs to win some big games. So whether it was going to be a Houston, a Kansas, an Iowa State, a Tennessee, fine, whatever. Tennessee, I love it. This is the program for the past couple of seasons that has kicked our you-know-whats. And it's not just men's basketball. As we learned early on in August for football season, it feels extra special beating Tennessee. Finally. Now, of course, if you are a Tennessee fan who's checking out this podcast, you probably maybe know me by now, given that Syracuse and Tennessee have played each other a number of times over the past couple of years. Look, you're a great program. You're going to be fine. They're going to go to the NCAA tournament, and they're probably going to have a chance at winning the national championship. I still respect Tennessee, of course. It just feels good. It really does. Syracuse basketball with a 62-60 victory. Comment your thoughts in the comment section below. How did we get here? How did this upset happen? Well, it was not the prettiest of games. And that is from both teams, and the stat sheet would tell you it was not the prettiest of games. Tennessee had 17 turnovers in this one. That's great. Good job by the Syracuse defense. How about the Syracuse offense? 16 turnovers. Not much better. Tennessee went 53% from the free throw line, 8 of 15 overall. Syracuse at the free throw line went 13 of 22. That was 59%. So the team that came into the day with the worst free throw percentage in Division I college basketball didn't exactly help their free throw percentage. But you know what? Tennessee was worse at the free throw line. So we take it and we run. That's what we do. Okay. We again, beggars can't be choosers here. This was not a pretty game, but Syracuse basketball made enough plays to win this game. In the first half, the Orange were, in my opinion, very discombobulated, but one of the themes that kept up throughout the game was that they were ferocious on the defensive end. And that, in my opinion, is what kept Syracuse in this game, because I feel like Tennessee is more talented, at least on paper. There's a reason why they're ranked top 15 in the country, you would think. And on offense, it was the Nate Kingz show in the first half. He had 19 points. He was phenomenal. He was hitting threes. He was going to the rim. He was hitting his free throws. Nate Kingz was Syracuse's offense in the first half. And this was, I think, the first moment where I felt, something maybe a little bit different here. maybe there's an upset kind of brewing here in the JMA Wireless Dome. It was 30-30. There was a few seconds left in the first half. Adrian Autry calls timeout. And I don't know what play Adrian Autry drew up in the huddle. It was not what ended up happening, where you got multiple guys that are just chucking up threes, ill-advised shots, but Tyler Betsey is standing underneath the rim. He catches a rebound off an air ball, and nobody is there to cover him, and he ends up hitting a layup at the buzzer to give Syracuse a 32-30 lead. That right there kind of let me know that, the bounces seem to be going Syracuse's way, because in any other game, in any other Syracuse game that we watch, it's usually the other team doing that to us, or Tyler Betsey in that scenario would miss that layup. And so you go to the half tied at 30 instead of leading by 2. And then in the second half, all that goodwill that we had about Syracuse, hey, good first half by Syracuse, they're in the game. Well, it goes away within a second. If you were watching it on TV, you didn't even see the turnover because Syracuse turned the ball over within 1 second when the second half started. I didn't understand. Then Gillespie ties it with the layup at 32. And this was the second moment coming up right here where I felt that something maybe was a little bit different in this game. You got JJ Starling driving down the right alley. It's at the end of the shot clock. He's behind the backboard. He just throws up a shot because he have to at the end of the clock, and it drops in. And so it gives Syracuse a 34-32 lead. And I know that there's an entire half of basketball to go. But again, it's those subtle moments where it starts to make you think this is getting a little bit interesting. Syracuse is starting to get some breaks going their way. That was a bad offensive possession. It was an ill-advised shot taken by JJ Starling, but he had to take it given where they were at in the shot clock. And it went in. You catch a break. There you go. Then Syracuse, they start building up momentum. William Kyle, we'll get to him in just a moment on the offensive end, but he was ferocious on defense. He had multiple blocks at the rim. He was what I think really started Syracuse's run after that JJ Starling floater, because the Orange at that point, they proceed to take a 50-41 lead. When Syracuse goes on the fast break, you have Nathan George in transition. He hits Tyan Anthony in the left corner for a 3-pointer. But look, Tennessee is Tennessee, and Syracuse had opportunities to keep a little bit of separation from Tennessee, but Tyler Betsey misses an open 3 from the corner. Nathan George has a layup that goes in and out. Tennessee goes on a 10-0 run. You knew Tennessee was going to fight back. It wasn't like Syracuse was going to win on their home floor by 20, although that would have been pretty nice. But, I'll take a win, even if it's a close win, because this is a big-time victory for Syracuse. The moment I felt maybe things could be slipping away, Sadiq White, I think it was at before the under 4 timeout, he has a hook shot and it just rims out. And Syracuse at this point was up by 2. And then Tennessee on the other end of the floor, their star freshman, Nate Amet, he hits that left corner 3 to put Tennessee up 56-55. And I felt in that moment, maybe that was it. Maybe Tennessee was going to go on a run at the end, but not so fast. JJ Starling, he was incredibly clutch down the stretch with Syracuse down 1 with a couple minutes to go. He hits a big right wing 3-pointer. Tennessee just gave him a little bit too much space and he knocked it down. And then on the next offensive possession, JJ Starling pulls up from the right elbow, drills it, gives Syracuse a 60-56 lead. There were a couple of questionable fouls committed by Syracuse after that. And at the end of the day, the game is tied at 60. There's less than 32 seconds remaining. Adrian Autry, he calls timeout, draws up a play. JJ Starling hits William Kyle with about 14 seconds left, and William Kyle gets fouled. He gets fouled in the act of shooting. So William Kyle, with the game tied at 60, goes to the free throw line with 2 attempts to give Syracuse the lead. And look, I know William Kyle's not a great free throw shooter. I think we all know that by now. We all have seen his form by now. It's just not very good. Can you make them when they count? And in that moment, genuinely, I was just hoping for 1 for 2. Just go 1 for 2, give the team the lead, and give the defense, which had been playing great the entire game, a chance at one final stop. That's all. That's all we're asking for, at least all I was asking for. If you felt differently, if you wanted him to make both, if you were expecting him to make both, I guess comment in the comment section below. Just make one. Give us the lead. And I felt that the first free throw was going to be crucial because it felt like, okay, if he misses the first, he probably will miss the second because the second becomes a lot more pressure. He missed the first free throw. If you are able to, obviously, if you are driving right now, please don't do this. But if you are able to, raise your hand if you felt that William Kyle was going to hit the second free throw to give Syracuse the lead. Raise your hand. Raise your hand. Okay. If you are raising your hand, you're lying. There is no way you felt that William Kyle, if you are a Syracuse fan, you thought he was going to make that second free throw after he missed the first one. You probably thought this game was going to be tied at 60 and Syracuse would need to stop just to force overtime. But to William Kyle's credit, he made it when it counted. And so Syracuse 61-60. Tennessee calls timeout. William Kyle with great defense in the end disrupts the shot from Carey, who was killing Syracuse all game long. And the Orange walk away with a 62-60 win. What a big-time win for Syracuse. Comment your thoughts in the comment section below. Now coming up, why was this game so critical for Syracuse to have? We'll talk about that next on Locked On Syracuse. The holidays always feel a little easier when you already know the perfect gift, and Omaha Steaks makes it almost too simple. Whether you're treating yourself this season or sending something memorable to family and friends, Omaha Steaks delivered handcrafted perfection right to their door. And this week is the best time to jump in because their cyber sale is here and the deals are huge. And honestly, it's the kind of gift that brings people together, and you don't need to guess anyone's size. Save big on unforgettable gifts with Omaha Steaks. Visit omahasteaks.com for 50% off site-wide and an extra 20% off select favorites during their cyber sale. And for an additional $35 off, use promo code COLLEGE at checkout. That's omahasteaks.com, promo code COLLEGE. Terms apply. See site for details. Locked On Syracuse. I'm Jackson Holzer. The Orange get a big-time win over Tennessee inside the Dome on Tuesday night, 62-60. Feel free to comment your thoughts in the comment section below. And hey, if you haven't done so already, please feel free, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Helps that channel grow to reach all Syracuse Orange fans. And of course, here on Locked On Syracuse, we react to every single Syracuse basketball game. Win, lose, or draw, we are here for you here on Locked On Syracuse. Why was this game so important for Syracuse? The answer is this was the Orange's last opportunity to get a quality non-conference win. Myself and Neil Adler, we talked about this on Monday evening's podcast. It was no longer a quote-unquote must-win game given the state of the ACC. Clearly this year, the ACC is a lot better. Now, that's not saying all that much given what the ACC last year was in basketball, where there were only about 3 to 4. There was one elite team and a couple of decent teams, and that was about it. This year, the conference seems a lot better. And so Syracuse, they can get quality wins within the conference. They obviously got an opportunity at Duke. They got an opportunity at Louisville. They got a couple of games against North Carolina. And it seems like all the other games that Syracuse is going to be playing, well, they're going to be pretty highly rated anyway. So whether they're at home or on the road against any ACC team, it's a little bit different than last year. But having said that, you still want to prove yourself as a team out of conference. And so that's why getting a win against Tennessee, a quad one victory, is so critical, because hopefully Syracuse is in this scenario at minimum. At minimum, we hope they're at least on the bubble. I mean, I think we all hope they're even better than the bubble this year. But at minimum, if you're on the bubble and you have a chance at March Madness, we can argue, hey, Syracuse, they do have a quality non-conference win. They beat Tennessee on their home floor. That's big. That's huge for Syracuse. And I tweeted this out during the game. It was towards the end that there were no excuses. Up until this point, when you go back at this losing streak, think about all the games that were winnable for Syracuse for just a moment. The Houston game was definitely winnable. The Kansas game was winnable. And as my dad put it during the game, the Iowa State game was also winnable until it wasn't in the second half. And this game was clearly winnable. They were within 1 point at the under 4 media timeout on their home floor. You have to find a way to win a big game. You have to, at least for your psyche. Forget the tournament resume for just a moment. Just for your psyche, can you prove to yourself that you can beat a quality opponent, especially when you have an opportunity to do so? It is right there on a silver platter for you. Notice how I haven't said at any point so far in this podcast yet, but I'm about to say it now. Syracuse did not have Donnie Freeman in this game. They didn't have Donnie Freeman. And I know a lot of you, or not, maybe not a lot of you, but there were some of you who were saying, well, it's to be expected that Syracuse is losing to good teams when they don't have their best player in Donnie Freeman. And at the end of the day, I understand, but what I have been saying here on this podcast over and over again is that it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that he's out or that he was out. Hopefully he can come back when Syracuse plays again soon, but it just doesn't matter. Because at the end of the day, when you get to March and you're comparing tournament resumes, the committee isn't going to say, oh, well, Syracuse didn't have Donnie Freeman in that one. Or if Syracuse had beaten Kansas, oh, well, Kansas didn't have Darren Peterson. Or if they had played Iowa State and beaten them, oh, they didn't have Taman Lipsey in that game. You think the committee is going to look at Tennessee in this loss and say, well, you didn't have J.P. Estrella, who, by the way, is a really good player and did not play for Tennessee, and that certainly benefited Syracuse. But the committee is not going to care. Nobody cares. You have to find a way to win games, especially when you're already in the game and it's right there for you to take. You have competed with this team for 36 minutes. You are within 1 point. I understand that Donnie Freeman is not playing. You have to find a way to win anyway. You competed for 36 minutes without him. Can you find a way to win with 4 minutes to go? And finally, we got our answer that, yeah, Syracuse can win. And it's not to downplay the impact of Donnie Freeman. It's more so that this Syracuse team has to step up and they have to find a way to win big games. And to their credit, they found a way to win a big game. And shout out to head coach Adrian Autry. You know, myself and Neil Adler, we were having a legitimate conversation, although we both agreed that the odds were very, very low of this actually happening. I just want to point that out there, that if Syracuse got blown out today, if Syracuse got blown out by Tennessee, was there a chance that it would be Adrian Autry's final game as the head coach of Syracuse? Would they actually make a change in season? The answer that we both came to the conclusion of was most likely not. But had they got blown out in this game, Autry would be a sitting duck. We'd be sitting here ranting about the coach. And I got to be honest with you, I don't like ranting about the coach. It's not fun. You know what's fun? Talking about wins. Talking about Syracuse being successful. That is what is fun. I don't want to talk about losing. When they lose, and we have to talk about it. We're not just going to ignore when they lose, but I don't want to talk about losing. It sucks. It's not fun. And so, yeah, shout out Adrian Autry. This is a big-time win. He had his guys ready to play. It wasn't a pretty game, as we talked about earlier in the show, but he had them playing ferocious defense. And the game plan that was working for Syracuse was, can they get out in the fast break? Can they run? Because that's what they have to do. I still question the half-court offense of Syracuse basketball in general. I think that is a legitimate concern. I just think that it is very, very basic. You are relying too much on each individual player's talent. instead of getting guys open by your plays, it is a lot of ISO ball, a lot of high ball screens, and relying on your players to make plays. And Nate Kingz did it in the first half. In the second half, JJ Starling late made some plays with a right wing three and a right elbow jump shot. Aside from that, they were getting a lot of their buckets either at the rim or in transition, a little bit of both. So I think that's a legitimate concern and something that they have to figure out a way to address over the course of this season. But we know the formula of how they can win. And we know what the identity is of Syracuse, which, unlike in the past couple of years where it didn't seem like they had an identity, they have one this year. It seems like, okay, we know they want to get out in transition. They want to run, and that's how they want to get a lot of their offense. And they're going to play ferocious defense. And William Kyle is just a menace. Cool. All right. Comment your thoughts in the comments section below following Syracuse basketball's 62-60 victory over Tennessee. Now coming up, we'll talk about the road ahead for the Orange. Stick with me here on Locked On Syracuse. The World Cup is coming to North America for the first time since 1994, and with 48 teams for the first time ever, it's going to be massive. But let's be honest, getting tickets is usually the hardest part. That's why the Game Time app is clutch, finally giving fans a real advantage when it comes to snagging seats. With Game Time, you can track price drops in real time, get alerts when great seats open, and buy tickets the moment they hit the app. It puts the power back in your hands and makes going to the World Cup realistic instead of impossible. And guess what, folks? The prices include fees up front, which I love. That means there are no surprise fees at checkout. Take the guesswork out of buying World Cup tickets in every match, concert, or event with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, download the app, make an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Game Time. Locked On Syracuse, I'm Jackson Holzer. Once again, Syracuse basketball, big-time victory on Tuesday night, getting a win over Tennessee, 62-60. Comment your thoughts right now in the comment section below. And of course, if you haven't done so already, please feel free, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, helps that channel grow to reach all Syracuse Orange fans. Let's talk about the road ahead for Syracuse basketball, and we're, I think, all in a much more cheerful mood following this win over Tennessee. Syracuse basketball, as we just talked about, this was their final opportunity at a quality non-conference win. This, in all likelihood, when the season is over, is going to go down as a quad one win for Syracuse. I believe the quad one criteria for a home game is a team that is top 25 overall in the net. And so at least pregame, Tennessee was 11th in the net rankings. Syracuse was actually at 91 at tip-off. So as of right now, at the time of this recording, quad one win for Syracuse, and assuming that Tennessee does in fact have a really good year, this will probably end up being a quad one win overall for Syracuse, a big resume boosting win. Now, Syracuse still has a number of games left in their non-conference schedule. I'm actually counting it right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more games left. Plain and simple. Syracuse basketball has to go 5-0. Let's start there. The Orange, they can't lose another non-conference game. If they go 5-0, they will enter ACC play 10-3. The teams that they are facing are St. Joe's on Thursday, not this Thursday, next Thursday. So Syracuse is going to have to wait 9 days to play another basketball game. They play St. Joe's on Thursday, December 11th. Then they got Hofstra on Saturday, December 13th. You got Mercyhurst on December 17th, Northeastern on the 20th, Stonehill on the 22nd. And then that is it for non-conference play for Syracuse. On the 31st, so New Year's Eve, 2 p.m. Eastern, Syracuse begins ACC play against the Clemson Tigers. That's a home game. Clemson pretty good this year. Once again, that's an opportunity for Syracuse in that moment to get a quality win, and they're on their home floor. And as we talked about earlier, the ACC a little bit better this year so you can get quality wins within the conference. That's good for Syracuse. But in addition to needing Syracuse to go 5-0 for the remainder of their non-conference slate, I'll read you the opponents again. St. Joe's, Hofstra, Mercyhurst, Northeastern, Stonehill. You got to dominate these games. We saw it early in the year with Syracuse, especially in their first 3 games of the year, when they were blowing out opponents, right? They were beating Binghamton by 38 and Delaware State by 40 and Drexel by 30. You got to do something similar. You're playing against quote-unquote cupcakes. That means the expectation is not only to win these remainder non-conference games, but it is to dominate these non-conference games. Because at this point, with the remainder of their non-conference schedule, these games can't really help Syracuse in terms of their net rating, their KenPom rating, whatever rating you want to use for a resume for a tournament. Flat out really can't help them. Losing will certainly hurt, and winning close will also hurt them. You have to dominate these games coming up. Do you think, especially after watching today, that Syracuse can dominate their next 5 opponents? Comment your thoughts in the comment section below. If I had to put a number, and not every team within these 5 is exactly the same, but if I had to put a number, I would say at minimum, Syracuse needs to win the next 5 games by a combined 90 points-ish. So that would mean an average margin of victory of around 18 a game. Does that sound fair enough? That's what they're going to have to do. Maybe they can. Comment your thoughts in the comment section below. At minimum, there is hope for Syracuse basketball. Clearly, they can play with top competition, aside from the second half against Iowa State, and they have now proven that they can beat quality competition. It's about consistency now. Can they maintain that? We're going to find out when ACC play begins, but in the meantime, focus on crushing the opponents that you have coming up. Comment your thoughts in the comment section below. As far as what's coming up on Locked On Syracuse here in the near future, I'm going to kind of keep it open-ended as far as what's coming up. I want to do a podcast about Syracuse football and their quarterback situation, because we know that Fran Brown is going to bring in, based on what he said, 2 quarterbacks in the transfer portal. So I definitely want to do an episode on that. We could do a fan reaction show to this one. We could also talk about the players that are all returning for Syracuse that have already said that they are returning. And we can also go over transfer portal needs for Syracuse football. And of course, we're going to react to every single Syracuse basketball game, but Syracuse basketball is not playing until not this Thursday, next Thursday, December 11th. So that's what's coming up on Locked On Syracuse in the near future. Folks, thank you all so much for watching. Thank you all so much for listening. If you like this podcast, be sure to hit the like button. If you really enjoy the podcast, be sure to hit subscribe. Tell all your friends about Locked On Syracuse, and I will see you all again soon.